There are a few things you need to know before going on safari in the Masai Mara. Number 1. Just because you're in the Masai Mara doesn't mean that you'll see the Great Migration. Kenya's Masai Mara is best known for its high density of animals, and most notably, the Great Migration. But what many people don't realize is that those massive herds of wildebeest are only in the Masai Mara for a short period of time each year. The actual Great Migration is a year-long journey that sees over 1 million wildebeest and hundreds of thousands of other grass eaters travel through a massive ecosystem that includes not only the Masai Mara in Kenya, but also the Serengeti National Park and the Ngorongoro Conservation Area in Tanzania. After giving birth on the short grass plains at the southern tip of their migration route, typically in late February, early March each year, the wildebeest start making their way back up north towards Kenya in April. Typically, they only start crossing back into the Masai Mara in late August. Going in September is probably your best bet to see the Great Migration in the Masai Mara, and usually they hang around for the first few weeks of October as well. But by November, they've headed back south into the Serengeti. Bear in mind that even if you come exactly the right time of the year, between August and October, you may still have to work hard and drive far to find the mega herds. This is because certain parts of the reserve may have burned shortly before your arrival, promoting fresh grass growth and subsequently attracting most of the wildebeest. This might mean crossing over from the National Reserve to the Mara Triangle or vice versa for the day, and might include an additional permit fee. Number 2. You don't have to endure the crowds all the time. The Masai Mara can become very crowded. It's not uncommon to see 20, 30 or even 40 safari vehicles at a special sighting like a leopard in a tree or a cheetah on a kill, especially if you come during the migration season that I mentioned earlier. In fact, the river crossings that make the migration season so popular are typically the busiest sightings of all, as scores of vehicles line the banks of the Mara River to see the wildebeest cross. But what I've learned over the years is that you don't have to put up with the crowds all the time. There are so many animals in this ecosystem that you could drive away from a busy sighting at any moment and have a good chance of finding your own lions, leopard or cheetah close by. My advice? Ask your guide to not only listen to the radio and messages coming in from other guides, which typically leads to very crowded sightings, but to also drive some quieter areas close to your camp every other day. This way, you give yourself a chance of having some sightings all to yourself. Number 3. There's a lot more than big cats to see and photograph. Many of you will want to go to the Masai Mara for lions, leopards and cheetah, of which there are plenty. But remember, there's so much more to see and photograph than just the big cats. Everything from the common Thomson's gazelles and topi to the gigantic elephants and giraffes look beautiful in this open terrain. Spend some time along the Mara River to look for hippos and crocodiles, or head over to denser areas like the marsh, where you'll not only see different scenery, but also other species. And don't forget your binoculars, because the Masai Mara is home to a spectacular variety of birds as well. One of my favorite things to do is to drive very slowly in the tall grass looking for the elusive serval cat, which is relatively common to see here. Speaking of tall grass, number 4. Visibility can be poor in certain areas. If you thought the Masai Mara consists of predominantly short grassland, you'd be wrong. Very, very wrong. Because of the high annual rainfall, much of the reserve is covered in tall grass, which not only makes it easier for lions to stalk their prey, but also makes it easier for them to hide from us. Obviously, large numbers of grass eaters like a big herd of buffalo or elephants or the Great Migration herds can easily shorten the grass in parts, but these short grass plains are few and far between. It's only when large-scale burning happens that you'll find big open plains with very short grass, and you have no idea whether or not they'll be there, where they will be before you go. But don't let that put you off. Although the tall grass makes game viewing tough in places, it also forces the animals to certain specific spots where they are more visible, like walking along or lying down in the road, jumping onto termite mounds, or even climbing into trees where they are very easy to watch and photograph. Number 5. Prepare yourself for bumpy roads. While we're chatting about challenges in the Masai Mara, it's worth mentioning the road conditions. For the most part, they are very poor, especially when it's wet. From November, when the short rainy season starts, to the end of May, when the long rains stop, there's a chance that the park turns into a mud bath. Not only does this make the going very slow, but it also means that many of the smaller 2 tracks become inaccessible, drastically reducing your driving area. Even during the drier months from June to October, the roads in the Masai Mara stay very bumpy, so please keep that in mind if you struggle with a serious back issue or other injuries. Luckily, you can stand up in most of the safari vehicles, which makes it a little bit easier to survive the bumps, but that on the other hand takes its toll on your knees. Number 6. The reserve is smaller than you think. When you first arrive in the Masai Mara, the endless plains might seem, well, endless. And although it does cover a massive area, it's not nearly as big as, say, the Serengeti in Tanzania or the Kruger National Park in South Africa. In fact, if you stay at one of the many camps in the central region of the Masai Mara, close to the Talek River, you can easily do day trips to the far northern parts of the reserve, where you'll find the productive marsh made famous by the BBC TV series The Big Cat Diary, or the far south, where you'll find the scenic Sand River. I suggest that you encourage your guide to show you different parts of the reserve so that you can appreciate the best the Mara has to offer. Luckily, the camps are used to guests going on extended safaris, and thus it's easy to arrange packed breakfast if you want to stay out until midday, or even packed lunches if you want to stay out the whole day. Number 7. A good guide makes all the difference. I've mentioned the guides a few times now, and I cannot emphasize enough just how important it is to have a good one. They are the ones that have to find the animals, navigate the bumpy roads and potentially slippery conditions, deal with the crowded sightings, and try and get you into good positions where you have an unobstructed view of the animals. So much of the success of your safari depends on the person sitting behind the wheel of your safari vehicle. And that's why I recommend using Wild 4 African photo safaris when you come to the Masai Mara. Not only do they use highly experienced and respectful guides who have a great sense of humor as well, but they also have the best safari vehicles in the entire Kenya, built for comfort, practicality, and photography. I've left a link in the video description if you'd like to learn more, and I've also linked to another video of mine where I did a migration season safari with Wild 4 to the Masai Mara, so go and check out that one as well. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, consider subscribing to the channel, and feel free to ask any other questions you have about the Masai Mara in the comments down below. A massive shout out to all my patrons who support this channel with your monthly donations. You guys are rock stars. Until next time.